Woman and Man. All right, this one was requested by Erik Hough, so thank you. Awfully cucaracha, this one. Obviously, it's very long, but to be honest, there's not a whole lot of differences, for the most part, between the live version and this, aside from obviously, tempo and stuff like that. In terms of overall structure, with the exception of them basically just completely lopping off the beginning, the intro, there's not a whole lot difference in terms of how they play the general parts. It's more so just, it's mostly just jamming the whole thing. So it's just a matter of what they jam and what they improvise on the moment compared to what they improvised on the moment on the album. I will cover the intro. They have never played this live, as far as I'm aware. I would love to see them play this. If you know any clips or performances that they played it live, I would love to know it. I don't know what the general opinion is. I like this intro. I've heard some people say it's like annoying and unnecessary. I've heard other people say it's great. I think it's really cool. There's some random guitar nonsense going on. There's some single note stuff that's basically just random. Like just random stuff. Not totally random as in out of key for the most part. It's just, running up and down A minor with a clean tone. And the rhythm guitar, the chords, basically, it's just a matter of just slowly strumming them out like that. Maybe throwing some light strumming there, but it's mostly just letting them hang, right? So it's an E7, and this is open. E dominant 7. And then A minor 7. Again, open. And he just alternates between those two a few times. And then there's a B minor 7. But to be honest, I don't hear this voicing exactly. I hear more so like, I hear the 7 in there, so it's like bar up there from the D to the high E on the 7th fret. And I can maybe hear the low B in there. And then there's a G minor 7. For some reason I feel more comfortable playing this than this. Not because it's uncomfortable, but because I think it sounds more like it if you include this note. But it also could totally be he's just like hitting that note with his thumb, muting the A, and barring the top 4 strings. Again, same thing here. It's not the end of the world if you play it like that, though. So it does that B minor 7 to G minor 7 thing once early on, and it goes cycles back and forth between E7 and A minor 7, and then he does the B minor 7 to G minor 7 alternation one more time, alternates between these two a few more times, and eventually just kind of winds up on A minor 7. That's when the intro ends. And then we got the main riff, of course. So the picking for this one, obviously I went heavy here. Picking for this one is just scraping through that first chord, kind of like that, because you don't just want to go. You can do that, and it's more like how he does it live. You just not exactly that fast, but they do it faster live, so you get more away with. But on the album, he's definitely deliberately sort of slowly kind of raking through those notes. And the way he scrapes through this chord is, he does it a tiny bit slower than he does on this chord. He still kind of does it slowly, but not nearly as slowly, Those are the little touches that give a lot of character to your playing. So always make sure to watch out for those, especially if you're recording. It's less noticeable live, but it's still noticeable live, but especially when you're recording. Anyway, so it's a power chord here, A, on the bottom 2 strings. And the same goes for this chord, because it's the same chord, it just moves it down. And you're going to include this note on the G, and you're going to mute the D, and possibly the top 2 strings. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, it's just muted, and then G string, and then possibly muted these top 2 strings. So and then same thing, just move it down 2 frets. And then when he lets that second chord hang, he palm mutes the bottom 2 strings 3 times. Then he does that sort of alternate picking palm mute. And then he ends it on 2 downstrokes. Right? Sorry. And sometimes I hear him start that second phrase with an upstroke, which sounds really cool. Again, that adds a lot of character. Now, for the longest time, I could also hear like this note in there. When I first thought it was this. So it's still this bottom note, nothing on the A string, these two notes here, and then you hit this note on the B, and then mute the E. So that I heard it as this. Right? Oh, no, sorry. And to be honest, I like how that sounds, but he's definitely not doing that live. The only thing I think of that he might be doing is hitting the top 2 strings. So barring across this fret, muting the D, and hitting the G. And the only string he's muting is the D string, but he's letting everything else ring out. Right, so... I could definitely see him doing it on this chord for sure. Especially at the way the song ends. It really sounds like you can hear those top 3 strings, and even the third, like the major third, instead of the fourth, which is what he hits. It sounds like the very end of the song, because it ends on that riff, you know. It ends like that, and I think it sounds better to end it. He could just be hitting the same 3 notes and mute everything else. But I think it sounds better if you hit the top 2 strings with that. And because it sounds weird if you hit that major third by itself. Right? So I recommend that's how you sort of end the songs, when he plays that riff for the last time. Something like that. And then there's the, well, I guess you could call this the main riff, but whatever. So it's an A minor 7. And then hit, mute it. Low E. You hit the low E. Then you slide up. You can slide up from like the 3rd fret up to the 5th fret, or the 1st fret up to the 5th fret, or even 2nd. As long as it's the 3rd fret or lower. I think it sounds best the lower you go. The lower you slide up from. I like to go 1st fret. So, no vibrato on that, but sometimes I find myself adding vibrato on that note. Then, open D, followed by open A, quieter, like not as exaggerated as the open D. And he kind of slurs that sometimes. Sometimes he'll hit the other strings, like the G and stuff, when he hits the open D. Right? So it's basically that lick. And then another lick a bit later on, right before the solo, when Gene's going, oh, he's alternating between this like B minor dyad. So that's on the D string there and on the G string there. And he's got the open A ringing out, definitely on the album throughout both of these, but he's just, so it's just that. So open A, D, and G. Just sliding that down 2 frets. Right? And then you can see him do it live. Certainly he's got this note in there. So So that's just up there with your pinky. But I don't hear him pulling that off. I don't hear him like barring this to that, you know. I don't hear that. I think he's just hitting it whenever he's hitting the B string, and otherwise he's just muting the B string whenever he's not hitting that note, right? So it's just. I'm not hitting that note there, right? I'm just going, just muting that B string. Right? And then over the solo, and whenever he's not doing whenever it doesn't come back to that riff, he's basically just vamping over A minor. And it never really changes. He's just doing random stuff over A minor, just keeping it in a very confined spot there, right? So sometimes he'll play it up in this position, where you bar that and do that with the D string, and you know he'll hammer on these notes. And he has a phaser on it. And sometimes I think he goes down here to the open A minor to do this kind of thing. To do that, open E, then hammer on from the open B to do that on the G string. Just kind of hitting the chord there. So that's basically what's going on over there. The solo, he's really just kind of jamming. There's not much uniformity to it. There's not a whole lot. And I don't think it's particularly... There's a couple good licks. There's a couple cool licks, but really, you just have to know where to solo. You have to have your general licks. He starts off with this. He's doing this... general A minor area. He starts off. So step and a half bend there. Although sometimes I think he does the full step instead of step and a half. Coming back down there. And then he does this kind of thing. So that's just holding these two, 12G and 14D. And letting those ring out, so just then hammering on that 14G. And then he does this kind of thing. Right, so that's just... Like, it really is just kind of climbing up and down a scale, right? And he does some cool stuff later on, like, I really like this. So that's just like your barn there on, was that 15, 17? Highest two strings, just adding those notes up on there. And he has a phaser and stuff on it, so it sounds. And it's cool over the rhythmic stabs of the over that he kind of does this. Yeah. He'll do stuff like that too, where, you know, he's done this lick before. He's bending up and just like trem picking them. He's done that before, and he does that a lot throughout the solo. So as long as you've got your A minor licks, you know, to teach this solo is just kind of to teach how to jam in A minor. If you don't already know how to do that, I'm not sure if I can really, you know, single-handedly tell you. So yeah, that's song. There's lots of cool stuff going on in it. You know, so if you have fun learning it, and, you know, I've got other songs that I'm working on. So thank you so much for your suggestions. Have a great day.